I remember when I was a kid having this nightmare of my parents leaving me alone, locked in our garage. And while I was locked in, I felt there was something in that room, a presence. And I was knocking on the window that was looking outside like, hey, I'm trapped, let me out, let me out. Both of my parents were just waving at me saying, bye son. Bye, son. And I was like, what the hell is going on? And little did I realize there was this monster running at me. And I remember in this nightmare, I was easily 4 or 5 years old. I turned around and this thing just comes at me and just kills me. And then I wake up. And because of this nightmare, I feel like I developed this fear of darkness. I do not sleep with the lights off completely. I have a night light on, or I leave the bathroom door a little bit open with a night light in. I'm a grown-ass man and I'm not afraid to say that. And recently, I saw this movie. My friend took me out for my birthday and we saw Skinamarink.
In this house.
Now, I didn't know this movie was going viral on TikTok, YouTube, and the short form content aspect, but it was going viral. I just, because of Instagram, I was like, wow, this movie looks like it's gonna be a bop. And I told my friend bought the tickets, and boom, we went. The fear that movie reminded me of was intense, because the thing about this movie, it's a nostalgic throwback to anyone that was a kid and felt alone, forsaken, and scared in their own house. Literally reminded me of that nightmare I had when I was 4 years old, 5 years old, of being abandoned in my garage and this monster coming out to get me. Today, I want to talk about how Skinamarink made me feel, and maybe made a lot of you guys feel. Now, I do want to say that this is not a full-on explained video of Skinamarink, because I'm not going to break it down. There's a bunch of other amazing YouTubers. Wendigoon is one of my favorite YouTubers. He did a great job. I'll leave that video down below. But I want to talk about how it made me feel, and maybe made some of y'all feel as well. Before I begin, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to this YouTube channel. Go grab some snacks, go grab some coffee, and let's have a fun, spooky time. Before I do begin, I want to give a quick shout out to our partnerships. Bucked Up. Yo, I'm a huge workout guy. I love working out. I like going to the gym. I love, going crazy and probably running on 4 or 5 hours of sleep, which is not healthy. But let's be honest, we're living in a time where we barely sleep. But Bucked Up Energy, LFG, watermelon flavor is my favorite. It gives me good, clean energy, not only just to work out, but also just to keep myself running until it's time to go home and knock out. If you're interested, I'll leave the link down below. If you use my code LEOV20 or click the link, you get 20% discount on all your final purchase, or your final purchases, or your subtotal. But yeah, if you're looking into a good energy drink source, boom. And they also have pre-workouts, they have BCAAs, they have a protein shakes, they have creatine. Like I said, I'm a big gym head, workout head. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. Click the link down below, buy something, have fun, drink it, let me know what you think. But today, this is what we're gonna be drinking. We're gonna be drinking some LFGs, Bucked Up. I'm so glad they sponsored us. We're gonna put it in our favorite little spooky cup. Oh, that's some good energy drink right there. Now, Skinamarink is a 2022 directorial debut of Kyle Edward Ball. The movie did have a small release, or release over the US in the months of January, February. That's when I saw it. Me and my friend went to an actual screening here in LA, and the best part about it, it was Q&A with the director as well. So we, there was a lot of questions asked to him, and I love the fact that he never really gave away what the movie was or what the monster was. It was an interesting Q&A where he really didn't put himself up front. He just talked about more about what he felt, what he thought about, and other BTS stuff, which I love. I'm a sucker for BTS. But he did mention something of it being a love letter to those kids growing up and being afraid of the dark, which I'm a grown man that is afraid of the dark. And I think that's my first point, is that if you were ever afraid of the dark as a kid or as a grown person, this movie will freak you out. Because they're, number one, analog horror, meaning there's a lot of static and there's a lot of grain in the film, and literally you don't know if you're looking at what is a pixel or a grain or a monster in the darkness of this movie, but you feel like there's something there, and that's what messes you up. I remember watching this movie. It was a loud ass movie theater. I forgot what the movie theater was. It wasn't like a AMC or a Cinemark. It was like a private owned movie theater in LA. I was like, what the hell is in this freaking corner of this freaking wall? You know what I mean? And not only did it scare you, the sounds are just very very, what's the word, unorthodox, very interesting, very scary. Now, the movie is about two kids being home alone, and all of a sudden, all the doors, all the windows disappear, right? And this movie is like fixed angles throughout the whole movie. So there's really no much moving cameras, you can say. There really isn't a lot of shaky cams. It's literally fixed angles throughout the whole movie, which I know threw a lot of people off. For me, the first couple of minutes kind of threw me off, but then I got into it because the sound design was incredible. And I think the thing that really threw me off, it scared me, is that it was dark throughout the whole movie except for a television, because the kids go downstairs to watch TV and kind of like sleep through the darkness thinking that eventually there'll be daylight. And daylight never came. And I always ask myself, why the hell could they not just turn on the lights? Why can't they turn on the lights? Why is it just pitch darkness? I remember there's no windows, no doors, so light cannot come in. Number two, they're small kids. They don't have the height to turn on the light switches of this house. And number three, there's a monster, there's an entity manipulating the house. Every way possible to play with these kids, and that's what freaking irks me. That's what scares me, because when you are dreaming, especially when you're having nightmares as kids, you and even as a grown person, you feel like you don't have control. As is, you feel like you don't have control in your dreams, let alone your nightmares. So these kids are just going through these days of things are happening, darkness. There's a scene where they go into the room and they find their parents, and their parents are talking all this nonsense, and they ask them to look under the bed and to close their eyes and all this stuff, and like you're like, yo, what the hell, mom and dad, you're supposed to protect me, but I feel threatened by you. And the fact that these kids are helpless, that was probably the scariest part of this freaking movie, because you're like, damn, there's nothing these kids can do, and there's a monster, an entity in this house that's manipulating space, time, and even matter, because there are moments where there's toys stuck on the wall, there's toys in the ceiling, and even the last scene of the movie, you see the boy almost pretty much crawling or walking on the ceiling, because there's no such thing as space, time, and matter, which is crazy, because if you really think about it, the devil used to be Lucifer, and Lucifer used to live in heaven, and heaven is eternity, and eternity goes beyond space, time, and matter. So that means there's some kind of manipulation, because there's some kind of relation to all this stuff. I may be looking too much into this movie, to be honest with you. The monster is really never revealed, if it's the devil, if it's demon, if it's a bad person, if it's even an intruder. No, there are some theories, there are some speculations that this is the kid being in a coma because he hurt his head in the beginning of the movie, or so they say, or there's a nightmare because these kids are living in constant fear, or just there's always darkness. Or sometimes they talk about the tribulations and the trials of divorce, because the parents are talking about how they're always gonna love them and no matter what happens and all this stuff. The movie, just, I'm telling you, it's just a love letter to all the fears we had as a kid, as a child, and even right now as grown adults. The end of the movie has 572 days. I'm guessing that's as much time that it's gone from when the beginning of the movie started until that time. So 572 days. So that is crazy, and that is scary, that there's been 572 days of either darkness, fear, abandonment. Like, are these kids eating? How are they using the bathroom? They have no sunlight. They haven't showered. It's like, yo, this is ugly. This is scary. And I've been in those places, especially in my nightmares as a kid, where I felt like, yo, my parents are not here. I feel trapped. I feel lost. And sometimes a day without seeing my parents as a kid, it felt like years. I remember one time I got sick, and when I was sick, I remember there being a party in my house, or so I believe there was a party in my house, and my brain somehow created all these scenarios of my uncles coming over, people coming over, what my parents ate, what they were dressing, all these things. And then the next day I wake up and I tell my parents what I dreamt about, and my parents were in shock. They're like, how do you know these things? I'm like, oh, it was my dream. And my parents were like, well, this is exactly what happened yesterday. You were asleep the whole night and we were having this party, and your mom would check up on you because apparently I got sick very last minute. Not that my parents were negligent or they were like, not taking care of me. No, it's just like I got sick last minute. Apparently I had an older brother, we shared rooms, so my brother was there too. So again, it was one one of those weird coincidences or one of those supernatural moments where everything I dreamt is exactly everything that happened. So these kids going through this moment of darkness and there being an entity, it could be a dream that they're feeling, or it could be a sense of something they're perceiving that is happening in the real life, and their dream is projecting what they're feeling in real life, which is crazy. It's so sad. My parents are not divorced, but I've heard that divorce in the aspect of a child as a son or a daughter is very traumatizing, very like nerve-wracking, and many people have told me that Skinamarink reminded them of that fear and that trauma of their parents splitting up, as how the Skinamarink reminded me of the trauma of being abandoned by my parents and that nightmare I had when I was just 4 or 5 years old. What doesn't help is the movie takes place in 1995. I would have been 3 years old at the time, so I was not alive. I was very much alive, and that was around the time I had those nightmares. Yeah, this movie really goes deeper than what people give it credit for. Again, I do feel that yes, maybe it's boring because it's not your generic horror movie with crazy jump scares, with crazy plots and crazy special effects design and makeup and all this stuff. No, it's camera being pointed to one angle and kids pretty much trying to survive the night, and here and there you hear a voice whisper. You have this one scene where there's blood being spilled and it's been repeated and repeated and repeated and repeated. It's a very low budget movie, yes, but it hits the nail on the head perfectly in my opinion. And the reason why I say this is because it reminded a grown man that turned 31 about his fears when he was a kid. Literally, that's what it does. The movie right now is on Shudder, which is a horror movie streaming service. I'll leave the link down below. I don't have a affiliation link or anything like that, but a lot of other YouTubers that talk about horror have like a 30-day free trial or a 2-month free trial. So I'll see if I can find somebody, but I would suggest you go watch the movie and let me know what you think. There are some very nerve-wracking scenes where the end scene is the kid asleep and you see the silhouette of a face. We don't know the gender, we don't know what it is, we don't know what it wants, and the kid just asks, "What's your name?" And it doesn't really answer anything, and it's just nerve-wracking because when you're sleeping and you wake up all of a sudden in the middle of the night as a kid, you feel like there's something in your room. You know what this movie reminds me of? Do you remember when you had to turn off the light late at night in the living room and you're like, oh my gosh, you turn off the light and you feel there's something behind you, someone chasing you? Or when you're showering and you're like putting soap in your hair and all of a sudden you have a fear like, oh my gosh, there's somebody in my room, there's somebody here, there's somebody, oh my gosh, I'm scared. This is what that movie reminds me of. When you're going up the stairs and you turn off the light behind you and you're going up the stairs and you feel there's like footsteps behind you. This is what this movie reminds me of. Kyle Edward Ball did a great job of playing with our nostalgic fear of what we used to be afraid of, or what we're still afraid of because of our childhood traumas, of the dark, of watching horror, of traumatic events that happen in real life. Crazy good movie, Skinamarink, y'all. I wish I can talk more about it and break it down and go in depth. I would love to hear your thoughts about this movie. Let me know if you agree or disagree with me. I know that this is such an open movie, so a lot of people could agree with me, could disagree with me. I know I didn't talk about the phone scene, the toy phone scene. I didn't talk about girl's face. There's so many things I left out, but I just really wanted to talk about how the movie made me feel and made a lot of people feel. Please write in the comment section down below if you agree or disagree. Let me know what you really thought about. Let me know if there's another theory around there, which I know there are many of what the movie is about, or what it wants to portray, or the message it wants to give. And if you have gone through something traumatic and scary and this movie triggered that, please write it down in the comment section down below. I really want to know about it. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to his YouTube channel. Don't forget to check out Bucked Up and their energy drinks, link down below. Love you guys, God bless, and I'll see you in another spooky video. And go watch my vlogs too. I'm pretty sure you'll love those vlogs too. Alright guys, stay spooky. Bye!